sometimes, always, the government lets you down. Let's learn together about the Guadalajara gas explosion. Hello, and welcome to Body Count, the podcast where we believe history doesn't repeat itself, but it certainly does rhyme. My name is Jessica Manor, and my co-host today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Bethany Skelton. How y'all doing?
Really quickly, because Madison is our other co-host, and what we're hoping to do next week is all three of us are going to join you together, because I think
for the first time,
I think our schedules are going to join together. But guys, I just want to tell you, even though she's not here, I spent the entire weekend ruining Madison's day with theoretical physics.
Oh my God. Okay, so you've briefly prompted me on this, but I'm excited to hear this story. I want to hear about it.
Well, I started talking about parallel universes. I started talking about fourth dimension, fifth dimension, what it is with the God particle we're exploring, what it is with everything. And we talked a little bit about the existence, the non-existence, what is not God, what the implications are within that. We had a little fun with some C.S. Lewis and some J.R. Tolkien, but more importantly, Bethany, I introduced Madison to Harry Potter.
Oh, I mean, the theory of time and travel, it's explained very thoroughly in the third book about how we've already done things before we know that we've done the things.
Exactly. And talking about ellipticals and the universe bending in on itself and Einstein theories and observation affecting the known universe, and all of that came into play. But guys, can I just say, before we recorded this podcast, Bethany and I spent 2 hours.
I think it was like 2.5. It was like 2.5.
It was 2.5. Easy. And we could have gone for 4 talking about Harry Potter.
We're nerds.
Not only are we nerds, Bethany, I literally, within the scope of that conversation, cried 3 times. And not just cried like a bitch. Yeah. Like literal tears, had to stop, blow the nose, get real about it. Because we've been listening to Potterless, and we've been getting mad and glad alternately in the exploration. I mean, we just get upset with muggles. That's the way it is, Bethany.
Yeah.
What was it the other day? You sent me a picture of the Kleenexes across the room. What was the exact? Oh God, it was brilliant.
Okay. Well, see, what happened was I was, we've been fighting this sickness, and I finally had finished up some stuff, and I was so tired, and I sat down on the couch, and I looked over, and my box of Kleenexes was over on the counter across on the bar, and I immediately saw it, and I put my hand out, and I went, Accio Kleenex. And I was severely disappointed that nothing happened. I was like, damn it. One day it's going to work. One day, if I believe hard enough.
If you believe in condensed chaos and chaos theory, or more than that, there's always the chance, as they say in Big Bang Theory, that the trash can could spontaneously form around the letter. If you subscribe very hard to theoretical physics the way that we do, it could always be a possibility, and it could possibly happen. And then I love that my response to you was, oh, that's funny, because only this morning I tried Wingardium Leviosa, and it didn't work for me either.
I really love the fact that we are so on the same page. It doesn't matter how far away we are from each other.
Oh, I know. Sometimes I'm like, when I wake up in the morning and I'm bumbling into shit on the way to the coffee maker, I'm like, Lumos. And it just doesn't work. And it makes me very upset.
Like, damn it.
Damn
Why
it.
did this work?
Muggle. And you guys think that we're kidding. We're not kidding.
We're
We
not.
literally spent the last 2 hours talking about theoretical physics, talking about mythology, talking about history, and how they all tie into Harry Potter, because we really do love it that much. We are that big a nerd.
HP for life.
Right? Like, ugh. If it was acceptable to have face tattoos, not that we're saying that it's not acceptable to have face tattoos. However, we do have semi-professional jobs in which I can't walk into the museum with a lightning bolt tattooed on my forehead. That's going to raise some questions in those VIP tours. Nor can you walk into your job with, the Deathly Hallows tattooed on your chest. It's just not going to work for us. But someday, hopefully, when we start our Patreon, that will in fact happen. Which, by the way, gave us our first idea when we want to start our Patreon. I think Bethany and I are going to start it off just watching the first Harry Potter movie together and doing Pottermore quizzes about our house, our wand, and our Patronus. Now, we've done our houses and we're not going to reveal it here. And we've done our wands and we're not going to reveal it here. But I'm honestly scared to do my own Patronus because...
I'm excited.
Oh, see, I'm not. Because if I get a goldfish or some shit, it's going to kill my spirit.
I don't see you as getting a goldfish. I think you'll be fine.
No, it's going to be like a bitch dragon, if such a thing exists. It's like, yeah, yours is a dragon, but an extra bitchy one. It's a sassy dragon. Oh, you've got a dragon, but a sassy one. Oh, God.
Now, okay, well, we better get started.
We better get started because it has absolutely nothing Harry Potter to do with what we're going to talk about today.
Sorry, y'all.
Sorry. We're just in that state of mind. We've been drinking and having lots and lots of fun tonight. Yeah. So that's the state of mind you're getting. Last week was over-the-counter medications. This week it is over-the-counter alcohol.
Oh, God.
And that's where we're at. So.
Yes.
Like it or not. Hold on a minute. I must clear my throat, but I am going to mute my volume for that. Mike, leave it in, leave it out. I don't care. La, 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 la. Like, I feel like I'm there. I want to be Julie Andrews and Do Re Mi. But I'm not going to.
Yeah.
So, guys, we are kicked back on our couch. And we're about to break down some history that nobody's going to like, quite frankly. But it is what it is. Now, we get all of this out, as you guys all know our spiel, to get our anxiety out just a teeny tiny little bit. In a world where there's a stressor around every corner, every little bit helps. This is not your boring history class. We're not Ken Burns. We're going to have some laughs as we talk about some pretty serious subject matter. And that is because we don't take ourselves too seriously. It's not a reflection on the things we're talking about, and we certainly never want to make fun of victims of these tragedies. That is not what we are about. But in this 24-hour news cycle, we just don't have time to process an event anymore before, that next body count hits you and you've got to rip that Band-Aid off. So it just gets rough. Now, if you're looking for your Hoover-esque, just the facts kind of history, and on occasion, true crime where applicable. Podcast, glad you stopped by. We're probably not going to be for you. However, if you stick with us and you want to be entertained versus preached at, we've got a lot to get to today. But first, as always, our housekeeping. If you guys love the show, please, please, please subscribe, rate, review wherever you listen to podcasts. It's not to make us feel like pretty princesses, although we're not going to complain if you give us those 5 stars. Certainly not. It really helps us out on the business end. It helps us move up the charts. You know what? And it never hurts to be kind to someone. And again, it's not for our egos. It's to help us out. So go, please, please subscribe, rate, review, and also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. Bethany, before we get into our story today, I do have a disclaimer.
Okay.
I think that you and I can both agree that the citizens of Mexico are getting kind of a bad rap right now in our country.
just a bit. Just a bit.
Just a little.
Just a tiny bit.
In fact, you could go so far as to say they are the complete target of hyper-nationalism within this country. But that's the dangers of nationalism and fascism. It doesn't work without a scapegoat. And it's been several throughout history. We're not going to go into that. If you want to explore that, please go back and listen to our Edward VIII episodes.
Yeah. Enjoy the 4-part series of Edward.
Enjoy the goddamn lecture series that exists on that. So I want everyone to understand, first and foremost, that make no mistake about it, I'm going to be maligning the shit out of the government agencies and authorities of Mexico in today's story. Not the Mexican citizens.
Yeah, not the people.
Exactly. Not the people. Because what you're about to see is how much of the short end of the stick these poor people got due to incompetence, greed, lack of planning, lack of infrastructure. I could go on. But really and truly, after we're done with this, you're going to see why these people really, really want to get the hell out of Mexico. And it's not just because of the cartels.
which also, that's what you call, that's a whole nother bag of dicks.
I swear to God, it's become our saying, a whole nother bag of dicks.
Bag of dicks. Like,
we just opened the door for that. Now, Bethany, we have just finished the wondrous and majestic Christmas season.
Yes.
And I know you, like the majority of our listeners, have seen Christmas Vacation.
Oh, yes. Dude, I love, my favorite scene is when he gets his paycheck. It's like the bonus check that he was supposed to get. And he just goes off and he's like, and I want him brought right here with a big ribbon on his head. And I want to look him straight in the eye. And I'm going to tell him what a cheap, lying, no good, rotten, four-flushing look, low-life, snake-licking, dirt-eating, overstuffed, ignorant, blood-sucking, dog-kissing, brainless, dickless, hopeless, heartless, fat-ass, bug-eyed, stiff-legged, worm-headed sack of monkey shit he is. Hallelujah. Holy shit, where's the Tylenol? Yes.
That's your favorite, and that is my second favorite. But my favorite...
What's your first?
Oh, my favorite is going to always be, and when Santa squeezes his fat ass down that chimney, he's going to find the jolliest bunch of assholes this side of that house. But before that, it's going to always be, we're going to have the happiest Christmas since Bing Crosby tap dance with Danny fucking Kaye. Like,
the happiest.
And coming off of Christmas, I think we can all agree that's how we feel when our family and when everybody else is here. Like it's so that's the entire time my family was here for Christmas. That's all I was thinking.
Yeah.
But why Christmas vacation is important. So I want you to think with me at the end when Uncle Lewis ignites the sewer gas.
Oh, that's just funny as hell.
Right. It's funny as hell. But understand, I've heard stories about sewer explosions my entire life. I mean, I think we both have. But it's always been from not so reliable sources. It starts with, like when you're a kid, the odd kid on the playground, and it continues on into adulthood with people like that listen to Alex Jones, which is a certain level of conspiracy bullshit. We're not going to get into it, but Bethany, sewer explosions, they are real.
Shit's real.
Shit's real. Very real. And a majority of this story that we're going to talk about today, which is about sewer explosions, believe it or not, guys. And we were a little lazy this week. We got a lot of things coming down the pipeline, but I took, once again, from the show I love, Second Disaster. Yes, Bethany, you already know.
I know. I don't know. I still don't get it, but if it pleases you, congratulations.
If it please the Ravenclaw Queen. I love it. I love that show so much. Oh, right? That's spoiler. We're going to save it for the Patreon. But, I mean, I love it. I do. And I promise I'm going to stop ripping them off very, very soon. I will. I promise. But that brings us today, Bethany, to our body count.
Body count. Woo!
And it is the body count of the 1992 sewer explosions in Guadalajara, Mexico. You ready for the official count?
Yeah.
This is a bigger one this week, on the bigger end, and not a theoretical, provable one. 206 people.
Oof.
Yeah. Oof. But what's worse is we're going to learn why that, in fact, could be a great deal higher than that.
Oh, no.
I know. That's like not great shit, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to jump into it because after I get done with my story, we're going to bring it back to the United States and a little more relatability for all of us. So, Bethany.
Yes.
Guadalajara, Mexico, April 21st, 1992, in the neighborhood of Reforma. Citizens report strong smells of gasoline coming from the sewers and drains. Now,
awesome.
Right. That's what you want. It continues, but by 10 a.m., it's no longer just a smell. People begin reporting gas plumes coming up from manhole covers.
Manholes.
And what is bizarre to me, manhole. But what's
sorry. Keep going. Okay.
But what's more bizarre to me is the fact that all these gas plumes are coming from these manhole covers for me, but people still aren't alarmed by just the plumes and the smells, which I don't know about you, but if I'm me, I'm shitting my pants, right?
Yeah, this isn't Marilyn Monroe moment here. These are gas fumes. Okay, she pulled that up, but we all know how uncomfortable that had to have been.
Right, and that was just steam. It wasn't like gasoline shooting and rocking in upper cooch.
Talk about pussy on fire.
So a little background on Guadalajara. It was built very, very quickly because Guadalajara was a bit of a boom town, and as a result, sported like a really hastily thrown together infrastructure that was not capable necessarily of keeping up with the demands of a rapidly growing city. And it is Mexico's second largest city. And as the industries developed, environmental concerns, of course, went to the wayside. So companies often dumped illegal waste straight into the sewers. Now that sounds great, Bethany. Why would they want to leave that country? Can you imagine?
I mean, I've seen those. Sorry, when you're talking about that, all I can picture is the episode of Family Guy when Lois becomes the mayor because they're to stop the dumping. And is his name Tommy? Tom Tucker's son?
Yes.
How he has a down face and he goes into the water that's got sewage being dumped, illegal waste being dumped into the river. And he comes up and his face is like right side and everybody freaks out.
And everybody freaks out, which we can argue is a classic callback to The Simpsons and the three-eyed fish and everything that goes into that, which we can then tie to South Park and The Simpsons already did it. Yes. God, you and I watch too many cartoons for adult people, but
they're made for adults.
They're made for adults, and truth, preach it. I mean, like and a half. So we've got all of that. We've got that occurs. So by 1 p.m. on that same day, the smell, if possible, has gotten worse. And so the Water Authority of Guadalajara examines the sewage pipes and try and kind of ferret out the cause, but they're unsuccessful. The authorities, however, continue to tell people there's nothing to worry about, despite it being 3 days after the smell of gasoline is first reported. Now, keep in mind, this is Mexico, and people need like every dime they can earn in working class reforma, which there are people that don't have enough to eat in Detroit in the United States tonight. So imagine the reality for these people. They can't just, pop on a plane and go vacay that week in Vermont. And the sad reality is their relatives.
They can't. They probably live with them.
They live with them or down the street. So they're in the same situation. They could be in a worse situation is the sad part. So they can't just leave because they smell this gasoline, even before they're told they have to evacuate. Now, if that's an eventuality, it's an eventuality. But I mean, they just can't. They cannot. Yeah. So on top of that, people then begin to find gasoline in their water. They turn on their water and it's almost pure, like unleaded gasoline. You could take it, put it in a hose, and start your car.
God.
I mean, can you imagine these poor people? Like, my God.
I mean, I don't take for granted my running water, my clean
running water. The sad part is, in America, people in Flint, Michigan feel the same way as the poor people of Guadalajara feel right now. So don't go getting uppity on your high horses, people. We're not doing a whole hell of a lot better at the end of the day. So by 2 p.m., gas plumes are now rocketing over 6 feet into the air from manholes in the street. So imagine that. You're walking down the street and every other manhole cover, like every one has these huge, like rocketing gas plumes that are coming out of them. So Water Authority tests the water, finds there is a 100% chance of explosion.
Okay.
Okay.
I mean, I'm no mathematician, but I do know what 100% means.
I would say that is a complete lack of a margin of error there, guys.
It's just a slight. Just a bit. It's just
a tiny bit. So the official line, however, is stay put and remain calm. Everything is just fine. Wow. Yeah. Oh, God. No shit. So, midnight, the smell somehow, if possible, intensifies. And no one in all of Guadalajara has yet to discover the source of the contamination. The water authority is like full out panicking, flushing as much water through the sewers as they can, knowing that explosion is imminent. Again, 100%. Like you said, I don't have to be a fucking mathematician to figure that out. Still, as residents are watching all these emergency workers and city authorities flood the streets, they are being told by these same people that everything is fine.
Oh, nothing to see here. No, everything's fine. Go back to your daily activities.
Oh my God. So now we're going to jump ahead to 9:40 a.m. on April 22nd, 1992. So it's almost 4 days since complaints began rolling in. And in fact, there's so many complaints that the city fire chief takes to the radio and again states there is nothing to be alarmed about and there's no risk of explosion. Again, 100% clearly doesn't, math is not equated into this factor
at all.
No, this is a 200% system. Like 100%, that's just like a 50%. It's nothing. It's nothing.
Our metric system is different.
Oh my God, Bethany. That's a metric 100%. Oh my God. But as you and I both know, or we wouldn't be covering this subject, that is far from true. Still,
It's fake news.
It's fake news. It was just fucking fake news. Like, fuck off. It's fake. It doesn't fit my narrative, so it's just fake.
It's fake because I say so. And it's the fakest of them all.
It's the fakest of them all. It's just fake news. It's like when my family calls me an utter failure, and I'm like, well, that's fake news. Fake news making bitches. Still, no one in all of Guadalajara can find the contamination source. Now, the water authority itself, despite knowing there's a 100% chance of explosion, they can't make the call to evacuate because it's kind of like what we were talking about in St. Helens.
Exactly. The USGS, they were like, hey, we should do this. And like, really, honestly, it's one of those things that like, why aren't we listening to the smart nerds? Like, these people are smart. They go to like, they're like, hey, this is what's happening. You should probably, get out.
Bethany, if you could answer that question, my entire life would be far less of a struggle than it is.
Why aren't we listening to these nerds? Like, that's why we call them nerds. Like,
right?
Come on.
Furthermore, the fact that we don't listen to them is what makes them so angry and why we end up with things like Nazis.
Oh, wow.
Oh, boy, we are encompassing everything we've covered together thus far within the body count universe. Woo! We're bringing it together.
Yes.
Now, because they are that advisory capacity, essentially, that water authority can't make the call to evacuate. But the reality is nobody within the government that does have that authority wants to give the order to evacuate because then they have to admit we fucked up, there is a problem, and they don't want to cause panic. So knowing the water authority is in that advisory capacity, it's still the call falls to another city department with power.
They've got the power. They don't use it. I don't know.
They don't want to use it. Oh my God. I love that we're in this headspace recording this podcast right now. So, in the end, we've got the fire chief saying there's nothing to worry about. We've got all this going on. People are staying in their homes. Nobody wants to give the order to evacuate. So, around 10:05 a.m. that same day, unfortunately, Guadalajara experiences the first explosion.
Here we go.
Now, Bethany and I are looking at photos of this.
Yeah.
It is absolutely insane. I encourage everybody, just type in 1992 Guadalajara sewer disaster, and you will see the utter devastation. It absolutely blows my mind that we're talking about. So, blast rips through the sewer system, and 3 blocks away, a second explosion rocks another street at 10:10 a.m. And by explosion, I mean there's a huge crater where there was once a street and buildings and cars, and 2 seconds before, entire buses are disappearing into what used to be essentially a street.
It looks like trench. Look, the street is no longer a street. It literally looks like trenches.
Yeah, I mean, I think it looks like World War I, World War II-esque, like trench. It looks like a war zone. We can't even.
Kind of scary.
It's terrifying. We cannot describe to you what it looks like. So
we'll be posting pictures on our Instagram for this episode. So
yeah, we absolutely will. So go check it out, because we're going to put a bunch up, because until you see it, you can't really
fathom and wrap your mind exactly how big the scope of it is. Yeah.
Or how devastating.
Yeah.
So the explosions, mind you, don't stop there. They continue to rocket their way through the sewers. So keep this in mind.
Like a domino.
Exactly. But there's no rhyme or reason to where the next explosion, where the next thing is going to occur. And so people don't know what to do. It's absolute panic. I mean, do you stay where you are? Do you run? But if you run, you take the chance of running to the next place that's going to explode.
It just reminds me, honestly, as you were describing, I was like, man, it reminds me of the game Hot Potato. Like, don't have the potato in your hand when the buzzer goes off, but you don't know when that will be. So you just got to quickly pass it around to people. Like, don't toss it to me, toss it to you. And before you know it, you're going to get stuck
it's
with
just like
the hot potato.
No, you're absolutely right. Like that is the state of it's pandemonium. So all of these streets are systematically being destroyed. So emergency workers are struggling to even reach the now hundreds of injured and trapped people, because everything's they can't drive down the street because there is no street. There are no buildings. There is nothing. I can't explain to you guys what a war zone this looks like. So not only can they not get in to help the people, they're not sure if they're about to be driving down a street that is going to explode, because explosions are continuing. At 11:30, 2 simultaneous explosions occur, destroying both Rio Bravo Street and Rio Nilo Street. You can't imagine the scale of destruction. We can't even describe it to you. And again, follow us on Instagram. You're going to be able to see it. So already by this time, there are at least 100 people confirmed dead, and hundreds are severely maimed and injured. The explosion stopped suddenly, though, for a time, and rescue workers are able to at least begin evacuation and rescue efforts. But poor old Guadalajara just can't catch a break, because at 2:20 p.m., a final blast, and perhaps the biggest, rocks Gonzales Gallo, a main street of Reforma. And aerial photos of this and we're looking at them right now as we're telling this. So we're live viewing it. And again, you'll be able to see it on the Instagram. go look it up yourselves. We're looking at it, and it is just
Heartbreaking.
I mean, I can't even describe. It is Jesus, there is no telling, like, ugh. So photographs taken after the blast show entire like tractor trailers blown on top of roofs. Like, think about the force of a blast that can lift that amount of weight and deposit it onto a house, which is amazing, as most of the buildings, Bethany, as you can see yourself from the photographs, are obliterated to like freaking dust.
Definitely makes me think of, the Wizard of Oz might be real. Dorothy's house landing and blowing away is totally possible.
Yeah,
as it's shown here in this photo.
According to this photo, there are a couple houses on top of like office buildings, and we're not even shitting you guys. It is amazing. Amazing. So these explosions last 4 hours and 14 minutes, and the damage encompasses an almost 5-mile stretch. If I can put it in any relation for our listeners, it's as if you like ripped out Broadway from like Wall Street to Times Square is kind of an idea of the affected area. And within that area, it is complete and total devastation. 5:11 p.m., the Red Cross reports that at least 170 people are confirmed dead and 500 are known to be injured. God almighty. So with so many casualties, hospitals are just immediately filled up.
I bet, yeah.
I mean, like, you can't prepare for that. So sports stadiums are then opened and emergency triage begins. But one stadium, and this is awful, is essentially converted into a giant morgue because of the sheer number of deaths, with signs posted outside saying, "What you are about to see will be very painful, but we are here to help you in any way we can."
Well, that was nice.
Oh, how kind of you. How about a forced evacuation so nobody ends up reading your bullshit sign while we're identifying the bodies of our loved ones? How about that?
Oh, God.
If you think we're any better, America, you're out of your damn mind. Because, I mean, we prove with St. Helens the same shit happens here, and I'm about to prove it furthermore a little later on in our story. So, hundreds are missing. Bethany, people are like digging with their bare hands to just try and find people they can hear calling to them trapped in the rubble. 15,000 people are left instantly homeless. 1,440 people are like immediately reported injured, and a confirmed 206 are dead. The worst survivor story that came from this program, included was that of Maria de Jesus Gonzalez. Now, she lived on Gante Street, where everything just collapses in an instant.
Like a folding table.
Exactly. So she said, in her words, that the ground just fell from under her. And as she fell, an already dead man ends up falling in sideways on top of her, and his chin fractures her neck.
What the fuck? Oh my God. What the hell?
That's the most horrific thing I've ever heard. So there is this woman trapped with a broken neck so that she can see and hear everything happening. But of course, she can't move.
Oh, what an amazing feeling.
From a dead body fracturing your neck. But it gets worse. She then states that a small girl fell near her, and then a paving stone fell straight onto the right side of this girl's chest, and this woman had to watch this child bleed to death.
Oh.
And that
My
is
God.
just A fucking plus awful. Like Oklahoma
Yeah.
City bombing level rough.
yeah.
I was so horrified by that story. I just, oh God, it made me so nauseous. It made me so sick. It's that sort of information. I won't share any more stories from this, for many of
please
this
don't.
because
I can't. Oh God, I can't.
you know, that was one of the least objectionable ones. At least that one I could get through without crying or vomiting. So, back to Guadalajara. Bethany, what the hell happened to cause
Dude.
all of this?
They fucking dropped the ball. Like, super fucked up. I mean, these pictures, the trenches that are now, that were streets, you know, it's just, they fucked up big time.
I mean, it's straight up, guys, the best way I can describe it, it looks like Dresden after the bombing of Dresden. Like with these very concentrated areas of just total destruction. Now, at the time of these initial explosions, seismographs, the explosions were so powerful that the seismographs in the area, because, I mean, that's an area with a lot of earthquake activity, hit 3.3 on the Richter scale. So that is roughly the equivalent of 13 tons of TNT exploding.
'Cause I'm TNT.
Dynamite! Oh, but gasoline! So the damage, as they're looking at it, it does very much look like
Yeah, it does, yeah.
an earthquake, like a killer earthquake, except that they look at the damaged areas and they all run in straight lines along streets. An earthquake doesn't do that. No, it's just widespread. It's Mother Earth, and she's a real bitch. She doesn't discriminate.
She's a rockin' and she's a rollin' and she's taking everything with her.
She's just taking names and kicking ass.
Yes, that is my tagline. I love.
I'm like Mother Earth. I'm taking names and kicking ass. So as they're looking at this, they're seeing these straight lines within the damage. But I would also argue that an earthquake doesn't cause gas smells or fumes to rocket out of the street. So, you know, not rocket science, if you will. So the city, once again, turns their attention back to the sewers like it's some big fucking puzzle where it came from. I love that.
What could be happening?
What could it be? Therefore, they start to really consider and look into the reports of gasoline, like pure gasoline running in the water. They start to look at the gas plumes rising from manholes and that general 4-day smell of gas that pervaded the area, if you will.
Yeah.
Now, that smell, you know, that one, just so happens there's a state-owned oil company called Pemex that happens to just have, you know, a little old refinery right near that area. So attention focuses on this, and I will say this state-owned oil refinery. But guess what? Guess what, Bethany? Pemex says at the time the complaints began, Pemex management ran their own tests and everything was in perfect working order. So they can't possibly be to blame.
Oh,
but
of course not.
They do come up with a story saying they found evidence of something called hexane in the sewer. Now, hexane is used in the cooking industry and the cooking oil industry. It's to extract oil from seeds and vegetables, essentially to make cooking oil.
Okay.
just know that it's toxic and extremely flammable. And as you know, I mean, Pemex goes ahead and they could be at fault. So they
It has to be
release,
them.
you know, it has to be. They release a statement that a local cooking oil factory is to blame. However, there is no evidence of hexane in any pre-explosion samples taken by the water authority. Ain't that a bitch?
Yeah, okay, sure.
So that
I love
takes
how
us-
the water company comes in and is like, what the fuck are you talking about? We don't have any of that.
we have none of that. What the hell are you making up at this point?
And we're the water company. Like, that's our job, is to test the water.
We wish we had the authority to have done something about it, but you're not going to lie about it, you bitches.
Yeah.
So that takes us back to our gasoline reports. Now, if gasoline was to blame, where was it coming from? Interestingly enough, Guadalajara sits on a giant gasoline distribution pipeline at this time. So it was built in 1973. The pressurized steel pipeline ran from Pemex to Salamanca, approximately 150 miles away. So authorities finally look at this pipeline, which why did it take us that long to get there? I will never know. So they find gas flooding the pavement near Pemex. Yeah. Couldn't be us, though. And the leak appears to be coming from underground. There's a problem, though. Again, how could it be failing as this is a steel pipeline? It's not like it's made out of something lesser or a
steel fucking pipe.
Exactly. It shouldn't be leaking. Now, remember when I was talking about how fast and without a great deal of city planning, Guadalajara began to expand? Right. Well, that same... Yes, ma'am. That same chaos extended to the sewer system. When they got down to the subterranean level, they discovered that this pipe network crisscrosses each other like... I don't know, shoots and fucking ladders. Like it is. It looks like the shoots and ladders game board is the best way I can. There's no rhyme or reason to these pipes. So some are water pipes and the others are gasoline. And they're laid out and they're just put wherever there was room over time.
Don't cut the red wire. Sorry.
Please don't cut the red wire. The blue, but the blue with the white, the big stripes, not the small stripes, if you will. I mean, that's very much what was going on and what they were dealing with. Then they find that a water pipe was bent around this pressurized steel pipe in one particular spot. Now, there so happens to be a point at which they actually touch. And it is here that the investigators find a leak in the steel pipe. But how could, go ahead, ask me the question.
How could that happen? Because if it's steel and steel, like it shouldn't matter, right? Like,
right? It shouldn't. But that weaker water pipe happens to have an effect on the pressurized steel pipe because different metals have different chemical compositions.
Oh, they weren't the same. They weren't both in metal pipes. One was in a metal pipe and something was in a metal.
Exactly. So when these different metals come into contact, they can essentially cause erosion. Goodness.
I'm smart.
You are ahead of me tonight, Bethany. You are on this. So essentially,
I learned this in like high school science class. Like,
yes, ma'am.
You can't rub certain metals against each other because it's going to end up like rusting and corroding and all that. Especially in some metals you can't mix with water either.
That's exactly right. And that's exactly what happened with these pipes is the water pipes were made of iron coated in zinc and the gas pipe was steel. Now, put these three things in very damp ground together, and you've got a recipe for corrosion, especially metal to metal, because we know they were touching corrosion. Now, the hole within the steel pipe is only a centimeter wide, but the pressure in the gas pipeline causes massive amounts of fuel to leak out because, again, it's a pressurized steel pipe. So we're talking like 600,000 liters of, like the 600,000 liter big gas tanks that we see
on the highway, those big things.
Yes, those big things. Imagine 18 of those, and that's how much gas had leaked into the ground.
Jesus. God.
And nobody noticed. Exactly. This leaking gas line is also right next to one of Reforma's sewer lines.
Of course it is.
Well, of course it is, right? So all this gasoline soaks into the surrounding ground surrounding that sewer pipe. And remember, it's a lot of fuel that's permeating the soil. It seeps through the cracks of the sewer system and begins to leak into the sewer. Then, as the leak spreads, it does the same to the drinking water pipes, which happen to be located right next to the sewers.
Because, of course, they are just laid out everywhere with no system in place. I think I'm gonna put a pipe here. That looks like a good spot.
Pipe next to the drink pipe. That's a good idea.
And one will be dark blue label, and the other one will be light blue label. And we will know which one's which, but only us.
But only us. Only I will know, and only I will see where their leak spreads. So then as the leak spreads, it does the same, of course, to drinking water pipes located next to sewers. And this is how the gasoline got in, but why so many explosions and not an explosion directly near the leak, kind of away from the town? Why not one massive explosion? Well, Guadalajara again.
I can answer that.
Right? I can answer that.
And I'm not
planning.
Yeah. Like, already looking underground, we can see what happened. I'm just okay. You tell us, girl. I'm
gonna tell you, even though we all have a good idea where this is going. So we've not got the one massive explosion because, again, we've established Guadalajara is not known for their awesome city planning, and this massive growth necessitates a new metro system in town. Now, again, we've already established the industries in the city of Guadalajara have a tendency to just kind of start digging and try to make it work. So sure enough, as they're laying this new metro system, they run straight into a sewer main. They're then forced to divert the sewer main so that it goes underneath the metro system and then back up, making a U-bend.
Jesus freaking Christ.
God almighty. And guess what? All the explosions
from the U-bend.
Yep, they spread
Not
south.
The U-bend.
Directly from where that U-bend is. As you and I both know, gravity
works one way.
Exactly. Thank you. They're built on a slope so that gravity does the work for you. Like, shit trickles down is not just...
I just got that.
It's not just an idiom. It is literal... it is literal town planning. Shit trickles down. So,
that's funny.
This new metro forces sewers to then have to pump sewage uphill. So these pumps are designed, however, only for like liquid refuse. They are not like meant for gaseous fuel fumes. So these become trapped in the sewer.
which cause pockets.
Oh my God, Bethany, you are so Johnny on the spot tonight, man. Like,
It's kind of like, well, it's almost, again, if you haven't listened to Mount St. Helen, it's kind of like the same situation. If you have enough pressure buildup in an area, it's going to cause an explosion all in surrounding areas, like literally like a domino, like hot potato situation.
no,
Like
you're
that's all I keep
exactly
thinking about.
right. It's almost the exact same story, only one is shit pipes and one is a volcano. So, of course, the fumes back all the way up to Gante Street. Gas pockets form along the main lines, and then they push into some of the smaller feed-in pipes. So concentrations of gas were higher, therefore, in some areas, which causes some places to explode before others. So this leak has been going strong for months. However, you have to kind of wonder, why does everything go up in smoke all at once on the 22nd? Well, just so happens it's already unseasonably hot, even for Guadalajara, Mexico. So as the heat moves into the system through the open drains, it causes the gas fumes to rise to a greater volume than usual to the streets overhead, because it's going to rise in that growing heat. And all it really needed was one spark. And interestingly, there is some conjecture that the authorities searching for the source of the gasoline smell might have caused the spark. Manholes are being lifted to air the sewers, and metal on metal, as you and I both know, cause sparks. So, quick recap, because Bethany's been ahead of me also, but in case anybody wasn't, recap, because it's a bit convoluted. So, metal to metal corrosion causes a leak in the Pemex steel gasoline pipeline, floods the soil around it with gasoline. This gasoline-soaked soil surrounds and eventually begins to leak in the sewer pipes nearby. Gasoline fumes build up and are trapped in the sewer due to the metro construction, now necessitating sewage to be pumped uphill. Fumes can only escape at this point through manholes and residential drains. Now, unseasonably hot temperatures heat the sewers continually, which causes gasoline to then vaporize even more quickly, which further permeates it throughout the sewers. So the tiniest spark would and did ignite the volatile trapped fumes, and this triggers the first blast. This
honestly, all I can picture is like someone like clicked the spurs on their cowboy boots. Like, I'm gonna go have me a whiskey. Click. Boom.
I'm a rodeo cowboy, and I'm wearing my spurs needlessly in the streets because I got a tiny penis. Like, that is exactly. Oh God. For those of you unaware of the phenomenon of the high plains, the rodeo cowboy versus the real cowboy, they are
vastly different.
Ugh. They're the asshole that parks their stock trailer across 27 parking spaces at Walmart and wears their spurs inside, like they may have to mount somebody within the Walmart.
You never know. In some Walmarts, you never know.
Gotta stay on her 8 seconds, though. I can promise you that.
One-handed.
God almighty. We're not this right state of mind, but I feel like everybody's going to be really, really enjoying this episode. So, tiniest spark did ignite highly volatile trap fumes, triggers the first blast. Blast travels along the sewer system, hitting the largest built-up gas pockets, And then we get Guadalajara basically looking like Dresden post-bombing. Now,
Mhm.
we know what caused this, but it doesn't exactly change the outcome, does it? I mean,
No.
not really. Especially when tests already showed there was a 100% chance of explosion, and yet no authority,
I can't get over that.
right? I might even excuse 99%, but when it's 100%, I'm not going to say the word I was about to call it. It started with a C.
It started with the C.
Use your imagination. There are several it could have been. Yet no authority issued a statement to evacuate. In fact, you'll remember they encouraged residents to stay. The Attorney General of Mexico arrests 9 people deemed responsible for this massive lapse in public safety.
9?
Only 9. Again, the mayor, 4 Pemex officials, 3 water authority officials, and 1 general government official. So, they, again, mayor, 4 Pemex, 3 water, 1 government, they spend 8 months locked up. Their case, though, don't worry, Bethany, never comes to trial. And they're all released without charge.
Without charge. I knew it.
Why would they be? So the inquiry was closed and no one was held responsible for this disaster. Now, the body count I gave earlier is the official number reported by the Guadalajara and Mexican authorities. Locals,
I already don't trust them, so.
Right? I mean, nobody was in fault.
It was the cooking oil company. Okay.
It was the cooking oil. There's no reason to worry. There's only 100% chance of explosion. No need to leave the area. So already we don't trust their count. So locals highly dispute the official body count of 206. And the truth is no one knows for sure or will sadly ever know. The official report does not include the number of injured or the property loss due to the explosions, but never fear, capitalism is going to root it out for us because, hey, Bethany, nothing you can't put a price on these days, right? Mm-hmm. Especially if you're good old Lloyd's of London. Now, they are a specialty insurance company so large that they insure something like 200 plus countries.
Oh, wow.
And territories, I believe. I could be making that up. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure I know, even in my current state, what I'm talking about in this case, which, I mean, geez, can you imagine the scope of that insurance company? And because of that, my bet is going to be on Lloyd's of London's figures, They actually ended up underwriting the loss. Now, Lloyd's estimates 252 people died, 1,440 were injured, and 15,000 left homeless, 1,124 homes destroyed, and 450 businesses.
Jeez.
Lloyd's estimates the loss monetarily at anywhere between 300 million to 1 billion. That's billion with a B dollars. And that's billion with a B in 1992, guys. Like
$1 billion.
$1 billion.
In this case, it's $1 billion.
Not pesos.
Dollars.
USD, guys. Yeah. The shit you trade oil in. And think about the people affected too, because there's no disability in Mexico, no government insurance, no welfare, no assistance. What the fuck did these people do, Bethany? I mean,
Nothing.
think about
Shit's
that.
just gone.
Think about the poor woman who's had her neck snapped by the dead guy's chin.
Oh
and
my
watched
God.
a child die. What does she get? She gets jack shit, which is just heartbreaking to me. She deserves a medically induced coma for a couple months to just vacation from her own brain and what
God.
she's just seen. My God. So, we're going to get to a little bit of good news. The Pemex refinery is shut down and reroutes the gasoline pipeline away from Guadalajara.
How nice of them.
Guadalajara, right? It's the least they could fucking do. Like, my God. Guadalajara then installs a nice new sewage system with, thank you, God, has a monitoring system that constantly measures all gases in the sewer to prevent such a thing occurring again.
Oh, they learned. Cool.
Which, again, I can kind of say is more than what we do sometimes. So, essentially, this all happens because the state wants to avoid regulation, and profitability was more important than the lives of the citizens it's meant to represent and is supposed to, protect. Now, Bethany, you may be asking me, why does this cause me anxiety? This occurred in Mexico, right?
It's America.
It's America. It's America, Bethany, not Mexico. I mean, we can't possibly ignore safety for profitability. We love to regulate industries that cause harm to the environment. And more importantly, our politicians we elect only care about keeping us safe, and our industries won't give us subpar service or products because they want their customers to have the best experience possible.
Bullshit.
Bullshit. I almost made it through with a straight face. And it just turned smart ass like 3/4 of the way through that.
I mean, have we not learned anything from last week's episode?
Right? The state's going to throw us under the bus faster than you can shake a stick at it. Like, so I'll tell you why this gives me anxiety. Because things like this, the negligence, the cover-up, every single day, that same thing occurs in our country. Except for we just pay people off to shut the fuck up about it versus Guadalajara, they just don't give a shit at all. And it doesn't occur on the scale of what happened in Guadalajara because naturally this is a more industrialized and a much richer nation. We understandably do have better infrastructure and some regulation. This is going to seem like a bit of a sidetrack what we're saying here, but I promise, Bethany, we're going to bring it back on the things I'm about to preach on. Now, we both lived in Texas for many a year.
Yes. Yeah, it was definitely a home away from home for me.
Home away from home for you. I was born there. I
was born in this hole. I'm gonna die in this hole. Sorry.
Dude, I swear to God, we just keep retelling the St. Ellen story.
It's very familiar here.
I'm from good old East Texas is where I hail from, but a majority of my life, especially the life I can remember, was spent in West Texas. And just so we can sidetrack here, Bethany, I feel like I have to tell people about the good old town of Miami, Texas.
Oh, God.
Just so y'all can laugh at it.
I thought it was Miami, Texas. I swear to God, I always thought it was Miami. And then you were like, yeah, I'm going to go to Miami. And I was like, you're going where?
Well,
you're like,
Bethany,
I'm going home. I'm like, what?
There's a good goddamn reason you thought that, because it's spelled Miami It's just
Okay. I thought I was losing my mind for the longest time.
You're not. Guys, just so you know, this is a town of 398 people. It is in a county called Roberts County, Texas. It only has 1,000 people within that county. And so Bethany and I ended up meeting at college. We went to college in a town a little south of Amarillo called Canyon. Yeah. Within Canyon, I don't know about you, Bethany, but I had gas in every apartment I lived in. Then when we bought our house, it had gas. Did you have it in any of the apartments that you had? Especially that one over on what was that?
8th and 8th.
8th and 8th.
That was a little house we lived in. It was like a triplex, and we lived in the top part. It was 8th and 8th, and yes, it was gas.
It had gas. Yes, it had gas.
Atmos energy.
Atmos energy. If you don't live in the uppity golf course part of town, of course you had gas. It's an old town. It's an old town that still has a brick main street, if we could put it that way. That is where we went to college, guys. So we all experienced good old Atmos energy. And the reason this is all going to come around for us is, Bethany, I'm going to posthumously scare the shit out of you as well as myself. Awesome. Right? That's always exciting. So I'm going to share with you and our listeners just a little bitty tiny bit of an article that was a 2-part investigative series from the Dallas News, actually. I found that this was a fantastic piece of investigative work. They went out, found it, saw it, touched it, found their primary sources, combed their secondary. Again, soapboxy, but great article because these two ladies are actual journalists. It is a 2-part series by Carrie Aspinwall, and that is at Carrie Aspinwall on Twitter, and Holly K. Hacker at Holly Hacker on Twitter. And
brilliant name.
Holly Hacker.
Love that.
Brilliant. She just seems like somebody that's just getting
would be in Harry Potter.
Oh, right. She's got one of those alliterative names. Holly Hacker.
Yeah.
Oh. They also include their research methodology within these. So I know 100% what I'm about to kind of read to you guys is sound. And I'm going to kind of skim through really quickly. And I'm ignoring their methodology. So please do yourselves a favor, guys, and go check it out on your own at Dallas News. What you're about to hear, however, occurs in America, Bethany. And remember, both you and I had service from this provider, and a lot of listeners within the Southwest. I mean, all the way up to Colorado. I think they might even go all the way to Montana. Do too. So here we go. Let me pull it up. Now, title of this article: How Atmos Energy's natural gas keeps blowing up Texas homes. Well, customers pay the tab. Remember what we were saying about earlier? Nothing like this ever happens in America. Yeah, it does. We just pay people to be quiet. They were normal Texas families doing normal things at home, napping on the couch, rinsing off in the shower, flipping on the light. Then their houses exploded. More than 2 dozen homes across north and central Texas have blown up since 2006 because of leaking natural gas. An investigation by the Dallas Morning News found 9 people died, at least 22 others were badly injured. God. These explosions all happen along a massive network of pipelines owned and operated by Atmos Energy Corp. It's one of the country's largest natural gas companies, headquartered in a gleaming tower on LBJ Freeway near the Galleria Mall. Atmos pipes run under streets and behind homes across Dallas and Fort Worth, north to Sherman, south to College Station. No single state or federal agency tracks all natural gas accidents, which makes it hard to get a handle on the destruction. Not all deaths and injuries are reported, and regulatory records are sometimes contradictory or incomplete. We can,
Wow.
yeah, right? There are an uncomfortable amount of parallels that we are experiencing here already. We compiled our tally by searching thousands of regulatory records, lawsuits, and news reports. We examined government documents related to pipe corrosion, and other safety problems on Atmos Energy System. Though the company would not address individual accidents, it says it was not at fault.
We didn't do that. It must be the cooking company.
Guys, this is what we mean by history doesn't repeat itself, but it sure rhymes. The count of deaths, injuries, and damaged homes doesn't include cases in which cars hit gas meters or workers got hurt on the job. It does include cases in which Atmos did not evacuate homes after leaks caused by excavation. Oh,
I'm sorry. You said you were going to scare the shit out of me. You really have just pissed me the fuck off. I am so mad right now. Like, this is so, like, I'm like rubbing my temple. Like, can we seriously not learn from anything?
we're no better than frickin' Mexico, because what I'm reading is the exact same story I just read to you. Nobody knows about it because we pay people to fuck off.
Oh my God.
So Atmos Energy has some of the nation's oldest pipes, records show, leaving them vulnerable to corrosion, cracks, and other dangers. The company's largest division, Atmos Mid-Texas, which includes Dallas and Fort Worth, has received 5 times as many state safety violation citations as Houston's CenterPoint, the other large gas distribution company in Texas. Atmos Energy leaders say they take safety seriously. Sure they do. And have invested $3 billion in pipeline upgrades since 2005 on their Mid-Tex system alone. Safety violations are only alleged, the company says, adding it fixes any problem cited by the state as required by law. Yeah, because they don't pay politicians to overlook any laws that might require more. So the company has reported $3.3 billion in profits since 2005, with $798 million of that from the Mid-Tex system. Over the past 5 years, the price of Atmos Energy stock has more than doubled, a jump sharp compared to many of its industry peers.
Interesting.
So this goes on. It talks about Atmos Energy's track record just shouldn't worry Texas. And based on key federal measure, the rate of significant pipeline incidents over the decade, it shows
everything's fine here.
Everything's fine.
To see here.
Even though Atmos's performance continues to get worse. But what I find really, really interesting is the first example that they include in incidents that have been occurring is what happened. State records show a plastic gas line running to the meter separated from a part called a compression coupling in the alley behind a home. Gas migrated through the soil and the sewer system and found a source of ignition in the house, blasting a couple out of their beds as they slept. Benny of this couple died instantly. Martha died later. Now, remind me again how that's any different than what we just spent all this time hearing about. It's not. It's not. And furthermore, and again, I really encourage you guys to go read these 2 stories from the Dallas News. They go on further to talk about stories that included questions from residents where explosions occurred, where there were workers on scene telling them that everything was fine. You don't need to leave or evacuate. And reports list causes as anything and everything but natural gas leaks. But a lot of them are that same incident where it's permeating the soil, leaking into sewer systems. So, I guess a lesson that we learn here is before we start maligning the shit out of other countries and saying we're the best country in the world, the exact same thing is occurring here. The only difference is these companies are paying people off to settle out of court. And I'm not maligning any of them. You know, I mean, they deserve the money, and a lot of frickin' money. I understand that. I do. But conversely, we don't hear about these stories. And this wasn't a widely publicized news story. I really had to dig for this. And I had to really go in and do some investigative work myself to find the articles that these two ladies wrote. So I really I encourage everybody to go read them, because we find ourselves in the exact same situation that occurred in 1992 Mexico. Only this is from 2006 to date in the United States of America.
God.
Yeah.
Which was around the time I moved to Texas in 2006.
I know.
Ugh.
So that was happening while we had Atmos Energy. And remember, we always used to complain at all of our apartments, like, God, it smells like gas. It smells like natural gas. Think about those places. Some of them were army barracks from the 20s and 30s. I mean, that was that place on 5th Street that Drew and all them lived.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, with all those houses. Like
those were like 1920s converted apartment army barracks. And we always used to complain about the gas smell there. I guarantee you that's exactly what's happening. So before
in the one I had, they had a gas leak like in the actual apartment, and then what they ended up doing is after they fixed it, they placed in each apartment a little device that like plugged in. It checked for basically gas leaks and stuff. I was like, oh, cool. Thanks.
Oh, great. So I'm going to monitor this in my sleep. Meanwhile, the neighbor downstairs lights a cigarette and we all go up in a fiery blaze. I'm just saying, America, before you malign any other country in the world or think we're superior, we just pay people off to be quiet about it. That is the only difference. The exact same shit is occurring right now that happened in Guadalajara in 1992.
Yeah.
So, Bethany, that was a fun and a dark tale. And in the end, it actually, related back to us this time. So, what do you think it's time for?
Counter culture. Come join our cult.
Come join our cult. It's not like a weird Jim Jones cult. It is a cult of we accept you. We all have anxieties.
We love you.
We are more insane than any of you will ever be. I absolutely promise, and we want to love you. But the point of the fact is we talk about some really, really dark shit that is depressing AF, man. Like, so what we do is we kind of try to end each one of our podcasts on like a very happy note, stuff that makes us very happy.
We're going to have a happy note.
We're going to have the happiest podcast ending since Bing Crosby tap dance with Denny fucking K. Oh, so I'm going to start, Bethany, if you do not mind.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Of course, as always, I want to give my love to Care Rescue Texas at carerescuetexas.com, and on all social media, you'll find them under Care Rescue Texas. Guys, I'm always going to plug this because they do really, really, really amazing work there for animal rescue. And it's not just dogs. It's not just domesticated animals. They also do a lot for big cats and big cat recovery. And it's something very near and dear to my heart. And it really is amazing. And it's really amazing to see all the hard work that they do there. So please go donate. Give them a shout out, give them love on social media, whatever you can do. It makes such a difference. And then I also want to let our viewers know that this week I am going to be on a podcast called am I an asshole? Which I think if you listen to this podcast, you know without a doubt that I am. But it's amazing. Rosie and Jackie, they're two great ladies, and they have a therapist on every week, and we talk about whatever the topic is, and I'm not going to give it away yet. Where you talk about whatever the topic is that we're concerned whether or not it makes us an asshole, and we kind of have an on air therapy session. So that does it for the wrap up for me. Bethany, what makes you happy?
Well, this time I would like to plug into a podcast that I absolutely love. This first one, I'm so happy I came across it and I shared it with you, and you finally got to it, and you now express my love for them as well. We're doing Ask for Cast, and it's Ask and then the number 4 cast, and which they play devil's advocate on speed. They read a stupid statement and then they have to defend it no matter what. Like, no matter what it says, they have to defend it. And the other two just basically call them out on their bullshit.
Guys, it's not just like calling it out. They go out for blood.
Yeah.
It is one of the funniest podcasts I have ever heard, in my entire life. Oh, it's amazing. And actually,
next Tuesday we are going to do a live me, right? That's what it's called. With Ask for Cast. So, do we know what the time frame is on that for us?
It usually ends up being Eastern time around 2:00 ish. Okay. We'll go ahead and post it on social media once we nail it down. This is, and again, it's Lyndon, Missy, and Rick that are Ask for Cast. But we kind of jump on with them, and we talk about a free range of topics. So we encourage you guys, go ahead, download Live Me. You can come there, you can chat with me and Bethany. We talk about everything from severe camel toe to the indications of genius and how it functions within society. It gets really serious and really stupid, and it ranges back and forth. So again, that's going to be next Tuesday. We very much encourage you guys to do that. And then you want to also do Despair?
Yeah, the Despair and Distress podcast. And basically it's just 3 girlfriends sitting in a room drinking, which I love already. Right. And they just push each other's buttons and they talk about some creepy ass shit, which is freaking amazing. And I freaking love them. They're awesome. So please go listen to them, download them, rate, review, all of that. You will really, really, really love them both. They're great podcasts, and we definitely recommend them both. So
I agree, and they are great podcast friends to us. And we just love hanging out with all of them. And not only that, I'm pretty sure, more often than not, Despair and Distress, at least one of their hosts jumps in on those live chats with us as well. Actually, I've done them for the last 3 days, and we've just had the biggest amount of fun that I could possibly describe. So we encourage you guys to go out there. We all jump in one chat room under host for Ask for Cast. And that's going to be really Lyndon on Live Me. And we're Bethany or I are usually in and out of there on a given weekday, but it's just been so much freaking fun. So we really encourage you guys to jump on, on Tuesdays, and we'll try to let you know on social media if we're going to be on there, the two of us, and when that's going to be. We'll try to get Madison on there. We're going to try to work everybody in. So also, we want to encourage you guys, our listeners, to go ahead and utilize counterculture as well. We want you to hit us up on social media with anything that's super important to you, and we are more than happy to plug it, to talk about it on here, because what matters to you guys is what matters to us. We do this for you. You give us everything, and we are so, so appreciative, and we're especially appreciative as far as the amount of activity that we're starting to see on social media, as well as the rates, reviews, the listens that we're getting. We could not be more grateful. Like we're on cloud 9. We just can't even tell you. Also, just a quick reminder, we're also looking for your own personal historical, true crime, death, and disaster stories or close calls. Please email us. I'll go ahead and tell you that's just Jessica Manor at bodycountpod.com. You can hit us up there, or Bethany_Skelton at bodycountpod.com, or Madison Wright at bodycountpod.com. You can email any one of us, whoever you feel comfortable reaching out to. You can DM us on Twitter, on Instagram. You can hit, I don't have Facebook, but you can hit the other two up on
Madison
Facebook.
do. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Body Count has a Facebook page, so you can hit us up on there too.
Absolutely. And then we also have our website. It's not up to date. We're not super up on keeping up with it. I mean, it's a social media world. That's mostly where we do most of our interactions with our fans. But you can always hit us up at www.bodycountpod.net. You can also listen to everything there, and you could find links to purchase our source material if you really want to do a deep dive into any of the things that we talked about. You know, we just skim the surface and we like to have fun here. We want to keep you interested. We want to keep you thinking. We want to keep you engaged. So you can DM me personally on Twitter and Instagram with any suggestions you guys have, or anything that you might want to hear about on the show. Follow the show at Body Count Pod on Instagram, Twitter, Body Count Pod on Facebook again. You know, please tell your friends about us. Subscribe, rate, review the show. We drop every Wednesday anywhere that you can listen to podcasts, Apple, Spotify, Stitcher. I could go on. I can't think of any others. You can find me personally on Twitter and Instagram at Jessica B. Manor, and that's MANOR. Just so everybody knows, like the house, not the behavior. And where do people find you, Bethany?
You can find me on Bethany Skelton 5. That's just the number 5 on Twitter, and Bethany RN24 on Instagram. Oh, and Bethany Rose Skelton on Facebook.
Wow. Like all your stuff's easy to find. Good for us. We made ourselves very easy to find on social media. I'm so proud.
We're easy. I mean, what?
What?
I hope y'all enjoyed this trip as much as we have.
Oh my God, because it's late. We're still sick, and we've been drinking and self-medicating, which is always a good mix. But anyway, guys, as always, it has been a pleasure. We hope you enjoyed, and we'll see you again next week.